What up? What up? The New Gaming Order audience. This is your co-CEO, co-producer, Alex Lexus, coming back at you like the Juggernaut bitch. So we got Gokin86 on your knees and co-producer, co-CEO as well, brother Nelson. Today we're coming at you for the 6th of November podcast. So those of you who are checking out our scheduling on Google Docs, everybody has their time frames. Everything is getting organized. But without further ado, let's go around the table. Opening remarks from Gokin86 on your knees and Nelson. All right, Mr. Gokin, any opening words?
GTA 5 first. I don't know. Just GTA 5 first person PC. That's all I gotta say.
All right, and he's gonna be jumping all over that. On your knees, any opening remarks?
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
This guy, you know what? He pulls a Dean Malenko on me every time, and he knows it gets my goat. All right, and Nelson, opening comments, brother.
Everybody, welcome to the podcast of November 6th. Hopefully, you enjoy it. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Twitch. We've been that a stressful thing, so you guys can help us out.
You called them Mitches? You said Mitch?
No, man.
No, like,
No.
watching Husbands of Hollywood. Yo, hold on, hold on. All right,
Hold on. Don't you gotta watch Scandal in a little while, man?
yeah,
Oh,
y'all.
Scandal's good though.
Amen, amen. Oh, that's what's up. All right,
It ain't no Walking Dead though.
it's two different shows. You know what? New Game in Order. This stuff is supposed to go on offline, but without further ado, touching lightly on a video that I had put up in response to Ono-san asking for $3 million to update and fix the debacle that is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Now, I'm not gonna say too much on this because I want to give the panel who have information on this a chance to breathe on it. But just in retrospect and summary, Capcom should have just listened. Overall, Cross Tekken, the fact that they have to ask for $3 million goes to show you the overall picture with that company because it's just like with the Microsoft folks, they had this, oh, our way is the right way, and then look at how they're punished. They don't even have the funds to update their games. You know what I mean? And that's a bad sign overall. But Nelson, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that bullshit that was on the event hubs that was making the rounds on the internet? And I mean, ooh, man, I gotta start talking on this. Go ahead, Nelson.
It's basically the worst point that Ono could have actually like bring back up again when you should have just honestly just made the game from the beginning without trying something new and wild, I guess I would call it. With this whole gem system, if you would have just left it without the gems, increased the timer like Marvel vs. Capcom clock, and balance out the fighters, it would have been a very great fighter based game with both Tekken and Street Fighter. Now, since the fact that he's hinting at $3 million for a possible update towards the game, I don't know if that was a joke for people just to get a little quick stab at the little fan base that it has still alive, or that he's really serious. And now Capcom's ideal way of re-releasing new IPs or old IPs is by getting a Kickstarter or donation drive, excuse me, to start up to help them out. So that means that Capcom financially is going down. So that's
Hmm.
basically what it means. They
Now,
have nothing left.
Now, Nelson, just to jump in before I give someone else a chance, that's messed up. That if they need a Kickstarter and it's coming from everyone in the fighting game community, if they were to support it, they can't have
Mm-hmm.
favorites to certain consoles for certain content. You got to do it fair across the board. All that exclusive shit that they were putting on the PS3 and all that, and then you're gonna get a Kickstarter that from the fighting game community that may own Xboxes or Wii's and stuff like that, but you're gonna give special treatment to Sony. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So, good luck with that, Ono. This is the first time I really had disagreed with something that he said. Now I hope it's a joke. He has a reputation of trolling us. You know what I mean? But one thing that I'm very adamant about is people not listening. You know, and Oh, moving on. Goken, what are your thoughts on this?
To Nelson's point, Capcom's probably been dead for 10 years for me personally. They're pretty much dead. Just to give you an idea how dead they are, right? If you go to Capcom.com, right, and you hit the USA button, they only have 3 titles that sit up there. Okay, Dead Rising 3, Strider, which no one really knew about, right?
Yeah.
And Resident Evil HD, Resident Evil 4 HD edition. That's an indication. And then when you hit the news, the only news they have are the patch updates for Ultra Super Street Fighter.
Yeah. And that's the only
So,
thing that's holding them
so,
afloat right now. You know, that
so
and Resident Evil.
I think it's time for somebody to come and swoop in and buy those IPs because they really can't do anything with it. They have so much. I grew up on Capcom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have so much they can use, and they still won't use it. And for someone to even ask for $3 million to do some bullshit, just kill Street Fighter X Tekken, call it a day. It was a flop, and move on to the next thing. Right?
Now, Goken.
Bring back Darkstalkers. Bring back, Bionic Commando. Bring back, bring back, Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Start working on that.
Now,
Give us something.
Goken. Hold on, I have to jump in before I lose something. You made a good point. Things that they're not using. Remember, I was at your house a few years ago, and we were playing. You were playing the Onimusha 3, and how epic that was. You know what I mean? Those types of titles, they just sit on. They all those IPs, they're not doing anything with them. You know what I mean? And
sell the IPs or do something with them.
Now,
give it to somebody. Co-produce it with somebody. Just hand it off to Platinum Games like everyone else is doing, and let them develop the IP. Just, and just call it a Capcom game.
Now you see, Platinum Games is on a freaking roll. Those of you who haven't played The Legend of Korra, get that game. That is excellent game, excellent. Platinum Games, honestly, to me, hasn't put out crap. They make some A+ action games.
I just played Bayonetta. I just played Bayonetta, and I didn't even play 2 yet because I gotta play 1 before I play 2, and it's a damn good game.
Now, Bayonetta, that first one was insane. My mind was blown. You know what I mean?
It's very, very good.
Yeah, and considering that that's the team that made the original Devil May Cry, you know what I mean? The DNA is in Legend of Korra, Metal Gear Rising, Bayonetta, God, all these other games. Capcom, y'all done messed up, lost your momentum and steam.
Let's just all go to the funeral already. Just die.
No. But before I give Onion Knees some time to chat on it, it's just like, as much as Demizzle and I used to go in on Nintendo, I don't want Nintendo to go away. Nintendo's
not going anywhere.
Yeah, Nintendo is how can I say? If something happens to Nintendo, it's like an arterial spurt to the video gaming industry because they're very important. They need to be in place.
Okay, they're a huge symbol. If they're gone, then the whole gaming industry is pretty much it.
Well, I wouldn't say the whole gaming industry, but
all it would be is Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, and Battlefield 4 games all year long. Every week we would have a Battlefield 4 or a Call of Duty game every week.
But my thing is, like with Capcom, we can't have them go away right now because honestly, unless the IP,
they're not even here.
No, but hold on, wait a minute. What I'm saying is, because for me, it's because of Street Fighter. If it wasn't for Street Fighter, the fighting game genre as a whole wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Bottom line. Same thing with survival horror. Capcom invented literally survival horror and fighting games. So for that company to go away, that would really suck. You know what I mean? Other companies will pick up the slack, but it won't be.
There you go.
I don't know.
When a company like that dies, that means other people can come and take the pieces that are good away.
Well,
so if it dies, maybe Street Fighter are getting the good hands, and we can start getting some good content. Plain and simple. So
right.
Let's not hold on to the past, man. Let's move on into the future.
Well, okay, good point. But Chris, what are your thoughts on Capcom's situation and bad decisions just overall before we move on to the next topic?
Based on what I read, it just made it sound like he was joking, but I think it's one of those half joking, half serious, hoping to drum up community contact with Capcom to get them to do something. But the question I would like to pose is, does Capcom even have $3 million? I remember there was the thing last year where they had no cash on hand, right? They weren't bankrupt, but they
It
had no
was
cash.
low. It was really low.
Yeah,
It wasn't even
yeah,
enough to develop another game. That's how bad it was. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
So do they even have money? That's my question.
Probably money to. You know what? Capcom pissed me off, man. Just the whole thing with gems and the pay to for victory type setup, and it's just, and then the Asura's Wrath holding the ending hostage like that. I mean, overall, Capcom, man, I hope y'all can turn it around. I mean, Microsoft made some bad decisions, but in some way, they kind of not entirely reversed the tides, but they're heading in a better direction than they were a year ago. You know, we're gonna hit that topic later on, but moving on. Um, Gokin, you were saying something about EA, Activision killing off something with League of Legends. Can you shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it might have been EA because they're one of the biggest ones. I think it was EA. They killed their League of Legends competition game. So basically, you have League of Legends, and then there's the other premium Steam game.
Yeah, it was Dustgate. EA kills your MOBA title 2 days ago.
Yeah, there you go. And I guess that's probably a smart move because no one's going to be able to compete with League of Legends. And what's the other mainstream Steam one on your knees?
Oh shit! Hold on, let me check my
That's with a
Steam.
D.
There's League of Legends, and I actually have this other one installed, but I haven't played it in like a year.
It's like DOA, something like that.
Yeah,
Dota
DOA
2?
2.
Dota.
Dota 2. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, you can't like you're gonna really those have been around for so long now, and they've been major competition games for the last 5-6 years or whatever. You know, generating revenue. Everyone's already played or invested all their time mastering those games. No one's gonna come and play this new one. I mean, that
But
makes sense.
there's a shit ton of other competitors too out there. Ones that are doing. There's I can't even name a few of them, but there's a whole shit ton out. There's one where there's a first person view. There's that World's Strongest Warrior ripoff. Blizzard's coming out with one with their IPs. So there's a shit ton out there. They just hit a flooded market. No one's gonna jump into it.
Yeah, it's too late. It's basically too late.
And it's
and I
not
think
like
it was
they're not using an existing brand either, so they don't have that to pull on to get people in.
Interesting, interesting. And then from what I'm looking at here, League of Legends player retires now makes 800,000 a year streaming. Whew.
You see that those League of Legends guys and those guys, they're making millions of dollars playing video games. Are you kidding me?
800. Wait a minute. 800K a year for streaming. Holy fucking hell! That is 2 times what the United States president makes. Unbelievable. That in the words of Shinwar, unfreaking believable. 800K. Matter of fact,
Yeah,
if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out. It's on our Facebook page, but the source comes from Kotaku.com.
Boo.
800K a year just to freaking stream a video game.
well, you got to be good, but you got to be good at it though, right? People watch him because he was the best at what before he was the best before he retired. So if
You
you got
gotta
to be
be.
the next best person making money, you might as well watch the best.
You know
right?
what I think? It's just a
You
bunch
gotta.
of people viewing that are backup dancers. Why don't they get out there and become good too?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
but they are. When they're done watching, they go try to mimic it and try to, that's how they get it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you gotta be
Chris
good
has
to have
something
a
to
good.
say.
Yeah, you gotta be good to have a good personality. That's what sells. That guy PewDiePie on YouTube, he's the number one. He's actually has the most subscribed channel on YouTube. He makes $4 million a year just on advertisements on his channel.
$4 million. I wish New Gaming Order can get to that level someday. Jesus, that just.
Well, he was not through no fault of his own. He was able to game the system because he started in Sweden, and then when he moved to the U.S., he got the way the YouTube thing works. He was still getting redirects in Europe, but because he relocated to America, YouTube was spreading his I forgot what they call it, but his shares and whatnot, his channel in the U.S. So he was getting more push from YouTube than most other people would.
Okay, interesting.
Granted, he has a channel people like. I'm not a fan of his, but he makes a shit ton of money. More power to him.
All right, Hey, you know what?
Jesus Christ.
Bless them. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
anyone doing good, but I'm just saying, 800K a year to. But no, sir, you got any thoughts on this before I shoehorn a side topic? But any thoughts on that?
Well, the only thing I have to say is like hopefully they don't mess up anything because now these kids that play League of Legends, Dota 2, StarCraft 2, they're getting work visa for these fucking games.
Really?
And yeah, they're getting work visa. This is considered a job now.
Unbelievable.
This
I'm
is
done.
considered a job now. Look. Let me shed on some light real quick too. ESPN, I think three was hosting an $11 million Dota 2 tournament.
$1 million,
11
fans.
million.
New gaming orders.
11 mil. So yeah, so this is technically work visa, and then like what the dude did, he retired right when the shit happened. All that shit transferred over, and he gets the work visa and his stream money.
Unbelievable.
Dude, he
Unbelievable.
gets money.
But this is just something, gaming is, I don't know, like I miss the whole grassroots gaming environment, but it's changing. It's branching off. It's becoming more mainstream. So you're gonna see this kind of growth and folks, using the opportunities to do things. So I mean, I make fun of it. Me and Shinmaro have this unbelievable response, but it's more or less that hey, the industry or the individual gamers that the consumers are actually getting out there, which is a good thing. More power to them. But switching to another topic, I damn it, I hate to be ill prepared, but I know that we could just touch lightly on it. There were some developers that have made it their business to say that they're going to stop supporting the Xbox 360, PS3, and the original Wii. I believe now, I forget who it is, but I just wanted to touch lightly on it in terms of, is it now a good time to say, hey, you know what? Let's start pooling our resources to develop for the Xbox One, PS4, and Wii U exclusively, and start taking more development time into getting into the guts of these systems to pull out all their potential. So starting with Goken, what are your thoughts on that? Should the developers start saying, hey, you know what? The last gen already ran its course, and it's time to move on.
Well, you gotta remember. I don't think last gen usually, last gen takes a while to move away because you figure now that we get the new consoles, most people in the third world countries or smaller countries that
Mm-hmm.
don't get to play video games get their hands on those Xbox 360s and those PS3s and all those other systems. So it opens up a whole nother economy for those areas, right? For as long as Sony and Microsoft is willing to support it, I think there'll still be other developers that'll develop other things outside of the U.S.
Okay.
While it's still affordable. So I do think it makes sense to move forward on the new systems. You don't want to waste too much money somewhere else when people are not really using it that much, right? Everyone in America has to have the new thing.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay. I'm just thinking at some point, you know, you don't want to split up your resources too much. You know what I mean? So it's just something where, like, damn, like with Call of Duty, you have it on all these systems. Call of Duty Ghosts on all those systems, and then they were trying to blame the fact that, oh yeah, it was on too many systems and they didn't sell well. Hey, it is what it
Well,
is. On your
well,
knees.
that's the problem when you don't just have a standard. When there's no standard,
Mm-hmm.
that's your problem, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're okay with Xbox, with Microsoft and Sony saying this is all we're giving you. This is what you have to work with. When we already know 1080p, 60 frames, is the standard, right? We accept, we go and support these systems that aren't even at a standard for us yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's our own fault. We get what we deserve, right? We're supporting all of it. When they came out with those systems and they weren't doing 1080p at 60 frames, we should have said fuck you. We're not buying your shit. And when you come back to us when you got something better.
All right, cool. On your knees, what are your thoughts? Is it a time? Is this a good time, a year in, to start funneling resources towards the newer consoles and whatnot?
Well, I want to say I'm not surprised he did it sooner, but They probably expected the sales to be lower. That's probably why they waited this long. And also, without reverse compatibility, there's no reason for them to support both systems. If this was reverse compatible, they could still make the games on the older gen,
Mm-hmm.
considering these new systems aren't that much of a jump
Mm-hmm.
in terms since they're putting games out of both consoles. And the only thing that it's slightly higher resolution, better textures. So I'm not surprised at all.
Okay. Okay. Nelson, what are your thoughts?
Well, I honestly think that they should wait another 2 or 3 years maximum.
Two or
Reason being is
three?
because, listen, just listen.
Uh huh.
Reason being is because, from what I've been reading, both Microsoft and Sony are going to have backwards compatibility within the following beginning year.
Okay.
So there will be a fucked up time to stop the resources from the previous gen. Now, we have reports stating that Microsoft on the 360 brand of things was going to push the console for a little longer, like probably maybe 7 more years of its life cycle because not that
Wow.
many people have the resources nor the money to buy a next gen console yet, even though they are on sale now for 350, 375. So you better
Mm-hmm.
jump on it while you can.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with Sony. They said the exact same thing. They're going to keep pushing the PS3. I mean, look what happened with the PlayStation 2. Look how long that lasted. It
Mm-hmm.
was still pushing even when next gen was out.
Mm-hmm.
So, my opinion, give it at least 3 more years until the developers or the companies decide to, hey, let's do the rollback. Let's get the backwards compatibility with this console. And then when they do that, then the people can start selling their old consoles, get on the new one, and still play their old games.
Okay.
So it'll
Now,
be easier and.
okay, and the only reason why I questioned it because in some ways, isn't it like the systems are it's like a cannibalism to a degree because Microsoft released a new blue 360 and it's like you got the Xbox One. Why are you still making newer versions of that console when you got this to start supporting? And the Xbox One is still getting its ass handed to it by the PS4. I think Microsoft should think like, one system eating the other. It's like, okay, it got to come to a point where okay, we need to start getting things in order with the new brand. Now, Goken made a good point. You guys made excellent points with that. Maybe I'm just too overzealous, where it's like, hey, it's time to move on. Let's go. Maybe it's a military mindset,
But
you
the
know?
thing is, if that's the case, then Alex, then they should just hire more staff members to focus more on the newer consoles and still keep the old staff working on the pre-gen consoles so they can still maintain. But I know companies don't like to spend no more money as they are already, so that's
Hmm.
probably just wasting funds.
Yeah.
But just my opinion, if it's time to go, if it's time to drop these old consoles, then so fucking be it. I don't care. Because honestly, the only thing I play on my 360 is probably like four fighting games that I still barely play. On the PS3, I have most over 175 games on a terabyte hard drive. 175 games I don't even fucking play. And I'm still
Unbelievable.
on these new consoles.
I still play my
So,
old Nintendo games.
Well, I got an emulator for that, so it's all goody good.
Yeah, but
All right.
it's cool. So
Okay. So I know that Goken 86 was and it was waiting for this topic, but GTA 5. First person shooting type mode or view
man,
coming. So I'm gonna let Goken lead this particular topic and his thoughts, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But Goken, give us some news on this GTA 5, man.
GTA as a series I've always liked, right? My biggest problem with it is they're just too long and there's always so much going on. But this GTA 5 when it came out the third person, that coworker of mine was playing it very thoroughly and I got like the 4-1 every day about how great the game was, the situations that you could put people in. But it's all from a third person view. I know it sounds gimmicky, the fact that on the next gen with the better graphics and you got the proper PC port that you're getting a first person option. But man, it really changes the way that game looks. It really does,
And the
right?
feel too.
It changes the look, it changes the feel. It puts you at a point where you can actually see the power of the next gen consoles, right? Because normally in first person shooters, when you're playing them, You get to see detail in people's faces up close and personal. You can see like laces in people's shoes. That you can see trees from a very far distance, right? It seems real in depth, right? You hit the sniper, you're looking through a scope, and you can see 20 miles out, right?
Yeah,
It feels like you're really 20 miles out. Those type of things you're really going to get to see, and who can really handle it better, right? So it looks really good. I'm excited for it. I'll probably get it for the PC.
Okay.
If it's on Steam, I'll probably get it. Just excited. It looks really, really good. I think they finally did something that was a game that was just redone. I'm not a big fan of redone games, right? I usually don't count them as a new game when they're redone. But GTA 5, the remake, looks good.
Okay, and for those like myself, I didn't like jump into GTA 5, but now this is a good time. Just like for me in The Last of Us, I got the remastered edition. I didn't play it on PS3, but maybe for some folks that's a good like bam. You get that audience that hadn't experienced it before, but you're adding something new. So I mean, I think that'll work. Nelson, what are your thoughts on GTA?
Well, let me just shed some light on this first person thing as well. This is just not like a random coincidence that they got first person. There was a modder, I say about several months ago,
I
I
know
think
who you're talking
about
about.
a couple of weeks before the game got launched, fucked and tinkered around with the game and he made it all in first person. The only thing is that sometimes you'll see the characters like eyes, textures, and stuff like that pop out every now and then, but I mean that was the basic concept, and then Rockstar was like, "Oh shit, this looks interesting. We should implement this on the next gen if we ever do make one." And a lot of fans were saying like, "Dude, you have the Xbox One, you have the PS4, you have PC. Release this title out for next gen." And all of a sudden, the game sold magnificent. It was just through the roof with sales.
Mm.
And now with all that money that they got back, they was able to put time and effort into the next gen, and also Steam. But before I close this out, Goken, since you're talking about Steam, I hope you do know that Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes and The Phantom Pain is coming up for Steam. So you better get that.
Yeah,
Hold on. Where we going?
Alright.
We going it. Don't worry.
Alright.
But you know what, Nelson,
Okay.
you brought up a good point before I switched to On Your Knees. It's funny how GTA gets a remake onto the next gen, and Capcom is in such dire straits they couldn't even fund doing that, like bringing Street Fighter or Ultra Street Fighter 4 to Xbox and PS4. You know what I mean? Like, I just
But
wanted to
I
take
think
a dig.
the reason why they haven't done it yet is because they want to see how much more money they can generate.
Milk,
I'm gonna
milk.
tell
No,
you
say
right
it,
now.
Nelson. How much they can extort out of the fans. I just wanted.
No. What I'm saying is they didn't get enough value yet. That's the reason why, if you haven't noticed, they've been releasing a lot of quick ass DLCs in a
Mm.
short time period. If you haven't realized, they haven't made the revenue that
Oh,
they was expecting.
gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
When,
But
when you're dying on your knees, you can't expect too much, man. You can't expect
on your knees, he didn't get to talk yet.
you're on your knees.
I'm just surfing the web while you guys babble on.
All right, but
Let me ask. Let me ask. Did they ever put in the online heist? Was that just something that never
no,
happened?
that's for next gen. They're doing it especially for next gen and
That's
Steam.
funny.
They didn't do it for the previous gen.
I was promised that for my Xbox 360 copy. Whatever happened to that?
oops,
Oops.
somebody
Exactly.
dropped the mic, and that's when you hit the Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom.
And
Since I'm not playing, I don't have all my sounds through here, so they want to work with the soundboard.
Yeah. All right.
Lawsuit against them, get enough people to go get, to rally with you, and hopefully they can refund people some money towards that on the 360.
All right.
Get
Yeah.
a
Well.
class action going. You were promised something, you didn't get it. Get that class action suit going. They probably thought people forgot. Like, oh man, we got away with this one. We got away with this one. You made a good point though.
But remember what happened with what was it? Was it Cross Tekken with the local online play that like somebody filed a suit against Capcom and they
Yeah, but
lost their AAA rating or something with the Better Business Bureau? I mean, people were going in,
Yeah, see, if you can come together, you can get what you want if you come together. If somebody gives you garbage in the game, they promise you a good game and it's garbage, you get enough people that says it's garbage, so I can get done, man.
All right,
It's the
so
same thing that happened with Madden too. They did this something for Madden that if you bought a Madden game from 2001 all the way to now, you'll get all your money back for all those copies.
oh,
Nah, you only get a piece of that in those lawsuits. The lawyers take a big chunk of it.
Well,
yeah.
the thing is, my friend got like
Once
three
it's a
thousand
class,
dollars.
yeah,
What
He got
once
was?
it's a class action
3,000.
suit, once it's a class action suit, and that one person wins that class action suit, everyone is
Yeah,
eligible to get paid off that
So
same
that
class
means
action.
that the company's getting raped, no lube, no spit, and no
well, no,
roses in the
like,
morning. That's pretty much what's happening.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Usually, what
saying?
happens though, everyone, the people involved usually get a mere pittance of what they actually should be getting.
Right,
That's
Because
why
it's
I'm
such a
not.
spread out thing, you know. So
Yeah.
10 years later, they'll give you $15 credit. You know what I mean?
unbelievable. But moving on to the next topic, and I'm gonna start with on your knees in this one. Nintendo finally is removing their region lock policies, so to speak.
Hooray!
Now, my thing is, I wish this popped up when Super Nintendo was out because there was Fist of the North Star 7 that me and my godbrother used to play in Bloomfield, right? I remember back in the day with the Super Famicom cartridges, you had to take like a drill bit and actually, make these holes so that it could actually fit in the Super Nintendo slot. You know what I mean? And people were like opening the cartridges and all that other stuff. And that was their way of trying to region lock things back in the day. But now Nintendo is, reversing it. Just similar to how Microsoft was reversing their DRM policies and so on and so forth, giving leverage or weight to what Gokin 86 was saying. I guess the fans asked for it enough, and now they're getting it. Now, my question is, how does this benefit Nintendo? You know what I mean? Across territories, because you have, okay, let's say you got a game that's exclusively over in Japan. You know it's never going to come over here. I think a benefit would be, hey, let me just import that game. But maybe you have a game that's coming out on all regions, and if people are getting the game early, let's say they released like a Super Mario RPG 3 or something, right? It comes out in Japan first. People import it. Let's say it comes out to the States. Not as many people may buy it because they already have the import version. There's like some pros and cons, but on your knees, what are your thoughts? Like now that Nintendo has reversed this policy, what are some good things and bad things that can happen as a result of this?
Well, it's about damn time. But to go to your point, that would force more simultaneous world releases instead of having staggered releases, which is good for the masses. You don't have people waiting to see the game comes out in Japan first, and you have to wait sometimes months and years for games to come out in the U.S., which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Games like Xenoblade would have been imported much sooner if that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if they make games in Japan and they have a feeling it's going to be initially in the US, but we can make some money, you just throw some English subtitles in the Japanese release, then you can, just
Pump
send
it out
one
quicker.
copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just send it over, and you don't even have to get a US distributor. You just put the English subtitles in the Japanese version, and people will pay to get that shit imported.
Hmm.
And they with the English subtitles, it gets a wider audience. So. It's better for most everyone. I'm sure there's some losers on the uh, distribution side, the producer developer side, but it's a win for the customer. So that's what matters.
Okay. Gokin, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, sounds good. I'll just wait to see the results of it. I mean, I could. That's all we could do right now. It's taken so long to get quality games out of Nintendo. I love Nintendo to death. I love Mario. I love I love all my IP characters, but not for nothing, man. I have a Wii U, and there's just not enough out there for me.
Well, you got Bayonetta too, though. I mean,
I do. I got Bayonetta too, but those are 10. Those are instant gratification games. Okay, they fall in that category. You play for 10 hours, you're done, and that's it. I'll beat Bayonetta, and I probably won't play Bayonetta again, but it was a damn good game, action-wise. I got my little thrills, but that's it. And that's all I'm getting right now.
yeah, Platinum Games, you need to bring Bayonetta 2 out, or another version of Bayonetta 2 since Nintendo.
It's good where it is. But, we'll see. That's how I feel about the regional unlocking. If there's some actual benefit to it, and I feel it, maybe 3 months or 6 months from now, when I have my hands on some titles, like Chris said, with some subtitles, and I can play these great RPGs that normally come out in Japan only, that we can't get, and I get my hands on them, and then in 6 months now, from 6 months from now, we're talking about how great some of these Japanese games are. Then I'll have some good feedback. But for now, it sounds okay.
All right, all right. And Nelson, what are your thoughts on Nintendo?
This is gonna be very funny, and I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why they region locked it in the first place is because I don't know if any of you had a 3DS or the DS in general. You ever heard of an R4?
Yeah, I had one.
That was the main reason why they made it region lock. When the region lock is on as of right now, you can't use your R4. R4 was basically you can download the game from the computer, put it in a micro SD, put it in the R4, and play any game that you want across the board. Now, if they take off the region lock, that shit is coming back in full fucking force.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna laugh because then they're gonna end up doing it again because they thought
Well,
people fucking forgot about the R4.
I don't think they. I don't think. See, I think Nintendo's advantage with their code or the platform that they're using, right, is that they know very well about the R4, right? They lost a lot of money to that thing. 'Cause I know sure as hell I had one. I had like 50 games on one cartridge. You know what I
Yep,
mean? For
so
me,
did I.
like so my girlfriend even had one. I even hooked that up for her. She had one that thing going on with all the Mario games and stuff. I think they figured out how to block it because I remember when I had my R4, every other month I had to go in and patch it every other month, or even sometimes it got to the point that it was every other week that I had to keep installing a patch because Nintendo kept finding ways to block it. And I think they're at the point now where they know how to stop that from working. I think they figured it out, and that's why they're doing it.
I
Because
hope.
you wouldn't stop, you would do something, right? They put it on initially to block it, but when you're ready to let it fly again, it's because you know
They have a
something.
countermeasure in place.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're like, oh, go ahead, fine, boom. But when they go to attempt, they might have something that'll be like,
So
hey,
think about it this way,
gotcha,
right?
bitch. Yeah.
Most systems are always online now, right? I think that the Nintendo 3DS is almost at that point too, because you download most of your games are downloadable.
Yeah.
You always have to go check for an update. Nintendo could easily say that every time you're playing the console, you gotta check in just to make sure there's no update.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you do that, you check for the update, it validates your game card. Something like that, something real crazy. So they're probably up to something. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, the Nintendo's
I'm
gonna
pretty
spring a
sure.
trap on the modders and hackers and pirators and all that. But
That'd be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see. I would love to see who's gonna be the first to break it and how long it's gonna take Nintendo to resolve
it's
it.
just a matter of time. It's hackers and pirates versus the companies. And I mean, granted, I ain't gonna lie. I put myself out there. I used to do that stuff. When times were a lot harder during college years and such. I get it. You're always trying to find ways just to do it, just to see. But at the end of the day, I still supported the companies. I just like to get into the innards of a system. Like I do mechanics too, so it's like I just to see if you can break these protocols. But at the end of the day, support the companies. You know what I mean? Because they need the dollars. I mean, especially if you like what you're pirating or doing, you wanna you want them to keep making it. You know what I mean? So it's just something they
It
got to
goes
be
it
careful
goes
with.
both ways though, right?
Yeah.
Take care of us, and we'll take care of you.
Amen.
And make sure
Amen.
that they take care of us. So.
All right. Okay, and moving on to another topic, and this is gonna be is quick before we move on to our final one because for time's sake we got to have a lot, but we'll probably save it for next week or like smaller podcasts or individual shows once everybody's up and running. But fanboys, it never ceases to amaze me. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, performance and benchmarking, and so on and so forth. Now, apparently, the Xbox One found a little trick where the shortcomings with the high definition, the 900p or whatever, and the Sony version running consistently at 1080p. But now comes into a fact why you see why PC gamers just laugh at console folks because they have more control over their graphics and so on and so forth. But the Xbox One and developers got slick. Now you have an issue now with the frame rate. Okay, on the Xbox One version, Call of Duty runs 60 frames consistent, even during high intensity. A lot of things going on, because I just finished Advanced Warfare last night. That game is explosive. There's just a lot of scenes in there. Like, holy shit, this is like a Michael Bay film. You know what I mean? Consistent 60 frames. I haven't played the PS4 version, but reports have it coming from IGN, Kotaku, and Polygon. It's something where the PS4 version, during those intense scenes, drops in frame rate. Now on a PC, you can sit there and be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna turn down the anti-aliasing a little bit, or I'm gonna take off some of these effects or whatever, and then you can control that. But on the consoles, it is what you get. You can't really tweak anything. And I think maybe down the line they should allow you to get into there and then change your own graphics or do whatever.
Well, you might as well be PC at that point.
Yeah. But this is interesting because this is now reminiscent of Bayonetta back on the last gen, where you had the PS3 version being washed out and the 360 being more fluid and so on and so forth. And it's just something where and I hope the fanboys don't get upset. This is reputable companies and publishers out there, like editors, saying, hey, look at this, what's going on. Doesn't make it bad, you know what I mean? But now it comes down to preference. Would you sacrifice that smooth frame rate for prettier graphics, or would you just stick with the performance of the game, have it run consistent? So Nelson, what are your thoughts? And then I'll go around the table.
Well, honestly, right now we live in an age where everything has to be either 1080p, 60 frames per second, or just, 720p, but consistent frames and never a fluctuating thing. Now, I've read that article as well about the PS4, the PS3 are having fluctual frame rates during high intensity scenes, where in the 360 and the Xbox One doesn't have any issues at all. And remember, Alex, I had this conversation with you not long ago about priority on consoles.
Hmm.
They made this game initially on the one first, then they ported it over to the four, and also the PS3. So of course, the
Well, I thought
Microsoft
that the
has
PS3 was the base version, or was I
no,
mistaken?
no, not for this game. For this game, it was Microsoft. It was all Microsoft.
Okay.
Because you gotta remember the commercials where they keep promoting it. Oh, we get you go get our first console
Oh, you
here
know
on
what?
Xbox, blah
That's
blah blah
like
blah.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow, where they made it on the PS4, PS3 first. Then they ported it to the 360. They said it was easier to do for something like that. So I get what you're saying, but
Cor-
yeah.
Correct. So that's the reason why we're having this fluctuation problem. Now, there is another thing that has been happening, which doesn't have to do nothing with frame rate. But when you go online, the entire across the board for every platform, including PC, you can't get a good connection game unless if you find like people with like dedicated servers of their own.
Mm.
And every game goes by like 800 ms ping. You know how stressful it is to play a game at 800 ms ping? That's like you moving literally not even a centimeter a second.
That sucks.
That's annoying.
It,
That's almost a full second delay at
that
800
That
ms.
that that's messed up, because when I started playing multiplayer after I completed the campaign, there was some serious lag issues. People were pulling like some Matrix shit or like Nightcrawler, like I'm here, I'm shooting at him, and
Exactly.
then he just disappears. I'm like,
But
okay.
what it is though is just that they didn't anticipate this many people to get the game. That was one reason why. And another
Well,
reason.
Battlefield didn't come out with it as well. I mean, there's not enough. Like Destiny's great. They have what almost 10 million people signed up for it, right? And they're having issues too. There's just too many people on it. So a game like Call of Duty comes out, a game like Battlefield should come out at the same time. That way you're competing, and now you don't have all 10 million people on there at one time for 6 months before the next title comes out, and they have their chance. You know what I mean? Like it's just from you don't want to invest too much in infrastructure. Like I get it. Like Activision's not going to want to spend all that money to be, have these custom data centers all over the place. They're probably using like Amazon Cloud or something, and they're paying all this money and stressing out all these servers and all these different locations to make this thing work. But it costs a lot of money to move data like that. It costs a lot of money.
But you know
And
what? I would have to say, PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live. If we're paying for it, it should be working Bottom line, bottom line.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
You
agree.
know,
I agree that.
but
I agree
not
that.
to stray too far from the initial topic. Like, would you sacrifice performance for prettiness, or Well, but let me give on your knees some time to chat on that. Like, my thing is, I rather the game run better. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you can get it to be 1080p and it runs strong, hey, more power. If the PS4 is able to do that, more power. Hell, I wish we had those high defs on, those resolutions on the X1, but that's not the case. But they got slick with it. But on your knees, what are your thoughts? Because now it boils down to preference. Performance or prettiness.
I would go with performance all the time, but you got a lot of people that want their shiny graphics. So I prefer 60 FPS, even at a lower resolution. Just makes everything look better.
Hmm.
In terms of online performance, that's going to be on those companies to make the dedicated servers. The reason why they don't do it is because it's cheaper. Peer-to-peer is always going to be cheaper because they don't have to pay to host servers.
Mm. Okay.
So they should be able to give people the option to host their dedicated servers, but on consoles that's not as easy to do, if possible at all.
Mm.
So it's all about being cheap because they don't want to invest the money for long term, and with the consoles you can't give them the flexibility to host reliable servers to do that.
Oh, okay. Good point. Good point. And Gokin, your thoughts on that before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, they. It's tough, Like I want pretty and performance. I usually don't have that problem with the PC, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
Rub it in, why don't you? Yeah, he
but
got this
but
super PC thing, and he's rubbing it in our faces that his Street Fighter looks better than all of ours. But
but
continue.
you gotta, and that's why I like LAN parties, right? I haven't been to any, but they're such a great idea because you can't, with the way the online is, the way that infrastructure is in itself, you can't get max performance as far as bandwidth goes, right? So you're better off just bringing your PC to somewhere or tournament or whatever, on site. You plug it in, you guys connect to the switches in the room, and you play. You can have your pretty performance and play in 1080p 60 frames, and not worry about the lag and all the internet issues,
But you know
And,
what,
and that's why you
Gokin.
have
On that
that's why
note, yeah, not to cut you off on that note, the thing with that, there's nothing wrong with, if you, there's no issue with that. But the problem is, we're in that society where people are like tablets and casual gaming and whatnot. To do that it's like you said, like what the Guilty Gear prior to the coming online was, it's a niche. Like, you got some folks that will go the extra mile, but if you want it to really make that bang on the general market, like, it has to be something easy, plug and play, like hook it up. You know what I'm saying?
I think what's missing. I think what makes LAN parties so great is the human interaction part of it,
Yeah, like
and that
arcades, like arcades and stuff.
yeah, like arcade, exactly like arcades, right? And that's what gaming has kind of been missing. Like, and that's why I would take the LAN over the online any day at this point, and not have to worry about that. Um, it just sucks that the companies make all this money. Like Call of Duty is gonna make buku bucks. You know what I mean? They're making buku bucks, and there's no reason why they can't dedicate something for this.
And not only that, they split Call of Duty between now three companies, and Advanced Warfare is Sledgehammer Games' first Call of Duty outing, and they did an excellent job. Excellent job. Even though they're saying that it's more like Titanfall and Halo rolled into a Call of Duty, I think they did a good job with it. But now that you
Yeah.
have three companies doing that, it takes stress off of Treyarch and the other company. You know what I mean? Now you're pulling in Call of Duty money every year, right? That this is a first person shooter that's pulling money hand over fist. They should they should,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but you know what? The good thing is that if you look at it though, they do leave it up to the fans to actually make it better, right? LAN parties, all the other stuff, etc., right? It's all, and that's why it's so big. I think they have a good following, and they got enough people that are really willing to do things like drive to the local tri-state area and do a tournament in a bigger city that everyone can get within 25 to 50 miles.
Yeah. All right. All right. And then finally, new gaming order. I know we're running a little longer than usual, but I want to hit those current topics that are of importance. Now, final note: Sony firmware update causing some issues. Um, you had that update, and because of this update messing up that rest mode and all that, I did not turn on my PS4. I'm like, damn that, they can have that. You know what I mean? Because it's now it was disabling a lot of things where the alpha evolve was jacked up. A couple other things were jacked up, and even they were suffering some other issues where Call of Duty is disabling the share play feature. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't. They weren't having too many issues, but it was a rough week for Sony with their update. You know what I mean? But they've since fixed it. So it's good that they had that quick response to clean up the mess. But overall, it's like, hey, QAQC your stuff before you put it out there. You know, this is reminiscent of the Street Fighter Cross Tekken update where Rolento would go up, throw the knife at a projectile, and freeze the game. You know what I mean? Like QAQC, your R&D folks. I know for a fact they have testers who supposed to go through every sort of scenario before they roll out these updates. You know what I mean? So nowadays you're seeing that happen more frequently, even with like the iPhone update where it's just jacking phones up. You know what I mean? But you know, I'm just saying, hey, issues. It happens. You know, we're not gonna crucify Sony for it, but check your stuff. But Nelson, what are your thoughts and other information that you can share on the Sony update that was giving problems?
Okay, well, from what I know, it was only a problem when you went into rest mode. Rest mode is technically meaning like you leave your console on standby, which allows games to fully download before it turns off or to get updates while it's in sleep mode. If you never touch that, you'll never have a problem with that update. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one to clarify.
Okay.
Another thing is this also disabled a couple of games to run share play on. First example and prime example, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. At first, people thought, they disabled it completely because think about it this way, okay? Alex would be a level. What's the highest prestige on there? I think level 15 is the highest now. If
Mm-hmm.
he was a level 15 prestige, level 70 guy, you done it all. You good. You're like one of the best online, right? What happened if you just invade my account and I was a level one? Would it be fair for your ridiculousness to be shared onto that and destroy everybody
Yeah,
when
that's
people have
cheating.
been turning heads?
Yeah, that's cheating. You know, like that share
So
play thing.
that promotes cheating and ridiculous. Is just that's not gonna fly. So that's what we all thought it was at first. Then when you brought that article out, it shedded some light that the 2.0 was still fluctuating and hurting other applications on the exact console, like the whole the media share thing that they're supposed to have, that you could listen to your music instead of the game music.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of iffy a little bit. The share play would like go from uh 1080p to 720p,
Mm-hmm.
from 60 frames to 30 frames, just so it can maintain its lag. And then at random times, the PSN store would just won't work.
Yeah,
So
I
now
mean
with
it
this new
happens.
update, it kind of fixed, and I'm glad that Sony jumped on top of it when they heard the fans like, "Oh shit, what the fuck is going on?" Blah. They was very quick and very nice about it. Within about 3 days time,
Yeah.
they found the problem, they isolated it. The following week, boom, update came out. That's what I'm grateful for. Sony has its fuck ups, but when it comes to updates, they get on that shit quick.
Now you know what, and you know what, whoever is watching the podcast right now that are avid Sony supporters, there's some of you, you know who you are. Anytime Microsoft, it's like the Obama thing, like Microsoft makes a mistake, they try to shotgun it all over the internet. But Sony has this issue. It's like, the mice went in their hole. You know what I mean? It happens with the company. So I'm not blasting anybody in particular, but you know who you are. You know, and I bet they were one or two were thinking like, oh, Alex is a Xbox fanboy. He's gonna go there and like try to nail him to the wall. No, it happens. But on the flip side, you
Mm.
fanboys got to stop that. You know what I mean? Like companies have their issues when it comes to that. They just should have just tested it. You know what I mean? Case in point. But just to kind of start streamlining because we're hitting at the red marker for time. But just to wrap up, on your knees and Gokin, Well, on your knees first. Like with rolling out updates, you could apply it to Nintendo and PC. What should Sony have done better to make sure that this type of thing didn't happen?
Test or ship better is what they should have done.
Too easy, right? All
Just
right, go.
work away on that shit. That's about all I can say, really.
Mhm.
If they do respond quick, which is a good thing, but bugs like that shouldn't be in there in the first place,
And
especially for a company that size.
okay, okay, and go, Kim. Your thoughts before we begin to wrap up?
Well, yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Here, the interesting thing is when you're doing firmware updates, you just never know, right? When they did their firmware update, they probably coded it and said, all right, this only affects this area, and then not knowing that under the assumption that that one change shouldn't affect the other, it happens, right? And you don't know until the population starts using it. So I mean, shit happens.
Yeah.
They fixed it pretty fast, so we're good. Good job, Sony.
All right.
You know.
Hey, quick. Yeah, they did a quick response, which is good stuff. But the other intended topics that we have on the Facebook page, we're like I said, some we're gonna cover next week, and others, if the ship sails, it sails. We only have a limited time on the air, but announcements. Everybody, starting next week, you're gonna start seeing consistency with streaming. Gokin has Tuesdays for PC games. On your knees is more like a floater, but he can stream whenever. He has some funny content with Dark Souls. He got killed by the dragon and that funny, good stuff. So check out our personalities who are streaming. We're trying to not just be New Gaming Order, but like a new gaming network. You'll see everything on the Twitch. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Continue to check out the Twitch channel, which we're on right now, and then later ported to YouTube. And make sure you check out the Facebook. You'll see a lot of activity there, and we're getting a lot more likes and members into that. So hey, with support, we can do a whole lot more. So Nelson, you got any announcements before we get ready to get out of here?
Well, basically, Alex was saying, just keep subscribing to the YouTube channel, follow the Twitch. If you guys would like to make a donation, don't hesitate to do so. Any little bit or whatever amount is grateful. And like I said, shout outs to NYC Playboy 78 for donating us a PlayStation 4. Very grateful to you, sir. And also, there's going to be a new thing with us very soon. I've isolated a couple of problems with the streaming aspect of things to make everyone in the group run at 60 frames per second despite their what you call it their specs. There you go. So
Okay.
you're gonna see a lot more streams coming up soon. And if, like I said this before on a previous podcast, if anyone wants to become a member of New Gaming Order and you would like to help us in some particular way, don't hesitate to send any of us a private message on YouTube, on Twitch, or our personal emails, which I keep linking in the description box of YouTube. It's always there, so don't tell me that you can't find my email or Alex's email. That shit is there.
Shit, that's right.
So
That's right.
make sure you get your point across if you want to help us out further, whether if it's becoming a member or to be a contributor.
Yeah, and we're always looking to have panelists on here, so we're just growing. As you can see, my family member Gokin is with us, and then we got on your knees back into the fold. Shout out to our members who couldn't be on Shinwar, brother Noob, the rest of the gang. And with that, we're gonna be logging off. We'll see you next week. We're gonna try and start by 8:30, and we'll just keep it consistent from there. So we'll see you next time on the New Gaming Order Show. Peace.